podcast called Jellison Podcast.
First ever type 1 diabetic in UFC history.
Doing fine, Dub. Nice to be with you.
Get out! He's like, yeah.
My tunnel vision and my periphery, I'm like off field.
Hey, you know how it is, though. Hey, when your team.
I don't remember that. That's crazy.
What's up, everyone? We're back with another episode of Dub Justice Podcast. Today, a very special guest joining me for the third time, Mr. Rapheal Davis. How are you?
What's up, Dub? I'm well. Appreciate you having me on.
Yes, sir. You know, it's always a pleasure having you on, talk a little hoops. But, I mean, before we talk about that, obviously Purdue had a huge win over Michigan State last night. Spoilermakers were back again. I mean, what was going through your mind when you were watching that game?
No, it was just fun. It was exciting. I mean, to see the guys win, to see the university happy, the fans got to storm the field. It was just one of those all-around good moments. So it was a feel-good day for me.
Mm-hmm. I don't remember a time where Purdue's football and basketball teams were good at like the same time. Because like when you were there, first couple of years, I think that was right in the middle of the Hazel area. So we sucked, and then you guys had your struggles the first 2 years. And the second 2 years, you guys were good, and we were so bad in football.
In my first year, I think they went to the Little Caesars Bowl. I think that was the last bowl they went to. And then my sophomore year was Hazel year. I think that was a year men's basketball, football, and I want to say like women's basketball. Everybody came in last place in the league. It was a terrible year for everybody. And then that next year, we were decent. And then, yeah. But before I was there, I'm sure it had to be a few good years together. I don't remember, but while I was there, we almost beat Notre Dame. That was a big, we almost beat Notre Dame. That was a big one, but nah, I don't know. I was thinking about that the other day, the last time that they were both really good. I can't remember.
Yeah, because like in the mid 2000s, it was really we're still a basketball school, in my opinion. Like obviously Big Ten football is a big thing, but I mean, we're always going to roll with paint and those guys over football. I mean, you can just tell with the fans too. The fans kind of embrace basketball a lot more.
Yeah, I think because it's more, you can see us visibly, you can see our faces, you know who we are walking around. We don't have a helmet on, but then also paint. He went to Purdue. He's a Purdue guy. It's not been that many basketball coaches at the university, but then also when you're winning, it helps. So winning helps and all of that. Mackey's a fun place to be in. So there's a lot of cool things that make it a basketball school.
Mm-hmm. I mean, before we started kind of going on this run this year, I wanted Drew Brees to come back and coach football.
Really?
That'd be sick.
Possible?
I think it's possible. I don't think he would. I don't think he'd be interested just because of the time commitment, and his kids are young, so he wants to be around them and all that stuff. But
that'd be really cool though. That'd be really good.
Sick.
You probably recruit the shit out the South.
I mean, we have quarterbacks all day.
And it'd be cool.
Yeah, for sure. That first year you talked about, or the second year you talked about, when like all you guys finished in last place. I mean, was the athletic department and everyone, were you guys just sad all the time?
We had hard practices, but when you go on a training table, which is where basketball and football eat together dinner. I mean, looking back on it, you would have thought football was winning. They were having a good time. But I know us, I mean, some of us, I'm not even gonna lie to you, some of us were still having a good time. I wasn't, but a few of the guys were still having a good time. The guys that were having a good time weren't there the next year, if that makes sense. But Payne will let us know all the time that, I remember, he was like, one time he's like, I'm just gonna get fired. It's just like, he's like, yeah, like, so like that was a real rough year for us for the athletic department. But then that next year we turned it around. We went to the tournament, and I think that started making everybody feel a little better. But when the multiple programs come in last place, that stuff. But thinking of the highlights, we beat IU that year. Mm-hmm. It was like, we come in last place, but we won a championship in the state.
Yeah.
So, no. That's funny, but nah, it was a difficult year. Those practices weren't fun. It wasn't even fun. Like it wasn't fun to exist on campus. You walk around with your hood up all the time. Like the games are the games aren't selling out. So I mean, people are asking who won and stuff like that. So I mean, it's a completely different field than probably what it is now.
Yeah, you can't. I mean, because I went to Harry's on, what was that, Thursday when we had our exhibition game, so I didn't go. So we didn't have a credential anyway for that game. And I still had the game like on my phone. I was still watching, and like other people were still talking about it. But yeah, I mean, those were the dark ages of Purdue. And then
That's when the frats and the sororities and stuff, they were real campus.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was nothing was fun that year. Felt like it was colder that year. This was a tough sophomore year.
Was that around the time where Paint was thinking about taking the Mizzou job?
No, that was when I was in high school. I don't even think he was thinking about taking it. I don't know. I've never talked to him about it for real, but I know a lot of people say I just think Paint's always been like a Purdue dude. And I think if you reported every story when a college coach got called for another job, everybody would look like they're thinking about another job. But because I was being recruited at that time. So and that's kind of why I say that. It wasn't ever a point where Coach Owens stopped calling or Coach Paint stopped coming to games. No one ever told me to start looking for. I mean, I'm sure, I don't know if they would or not, but it didn't feel like they were leaving Purdue at that time. So, yeah. But that was when I was in high school. That was towards the end of that would have been towards the end of Etwan and Rob and those guys' career.
I think it had to be after Etwan and Jawan left.
I want to say it might have been Rob's 5th year, or I don't think it was right after Rob's 5th year. I want to say it was before Rob's 5th year. I'm not sure though.
Yeah, it was somewhere around.
I came in the year after Rob, Lou Jack, and Ryan Smith.
Yeah.
So I want to say, I know I was in high school. I know I was still playing AAU because I thought it was my time to shine.
This made me think of that pod with Vince that you guys did, which was phenomenal, by the way. I mean, Vince was talking about Paint just randomly showing up to his school and he couldn't go anywhere without seeing him.
Yeah. Paint is a guy. I mean, if he's committed to you, he's on it. I mean, he's coming to my high school, Southside, 6 in the morning. I mean, coming to AAU games since like my first time seeing Paint at an AAU game was going into my freshman year. I've been 2009. So I mean, he from 2000, actually been 2008. He was his loyalty, whether it be him, Coach Owens, Coach Shrewsbury, Coach Gary. I mean, Purdue just always, they're going to show you that they're invested in you.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, I saw it was when the North Carolina job opened up, kind of go back to Paint being a Purdue guy. There was no doubt in my mind that he wasn't going to leave for that job. But I mean, people were starting to bring it up in college basketball media. I was like, you guys need to cut all that out because he ain't leaving here.
No, I don't know. I didn't even hear it. I didn't even think about that. But I don't know. I don't see him leaving. I know he grew up an Indiana fan, but I just think he's like Purdue'd out. I don't think he would feel the same not being able to play. I mean, he said it. I think he said that before. Not being able to play IU would mean something to him. Mm-hmm. So I think when you think about stuff like that, he played there, his family's close. He's built a house in West Lafayette. I think he's there until he can't be there anymore.
Big crib too. I mean, he knew I've never been to it, but I've seen pictures and all that. I mean, he grew up knowing Bob Knight too, which is pretty insane.
Like knowing him? I didn't know that.
Well, he told a story. I thought it was on your podcast. It might have been on Rob and Jeff Goodman's, but he was talking about how he went to he was like golfing with Bob Knight.
I didn't know that.
You'll have to ask him about it. Next time you see him, you have to ask him. But I
cannot picture Paint golfing. I don't know why that's funny. I just can't see it.
Hey, you picked up golfing, didn't you?
Yeah, I got shout out to Ru Patel. My guy Ru Patel came. We did some golf lessons together. Got my range game is fire right now. That's all I can do though. I'm not going to any tees or getting in the golf cart yet.
You still never gone golfing before?
No.
Like actually golfing?
No. I honestly don't even understand the concept. And I'm not the type of guy to just go do something without really knowing what I'm doing. Like I can't keep score, so I don't even know if I'm good, bad, terrible, like stuff like that.
Yeah,
right now I just know swing soft, but hit the ball as hard as you can, as far as you can, but as light as you can. But that's about the mental release I get at this point.
it sucks. I hate it. I mean, I like it. I just started this past summer, and like I'd go from shooting like 40 over, and then I'd have like a fairly good round, and it's just.
I found out yesterday from one of my 7th grade feeder team parents. He was actually trained for work by Ryan Klein's father, Mike. And I guess Mike won an amateur golf contest in Indiana. So I guess Ryan's dad is one of the best amateur golfers in the state. Had no idea.
Neither did I.
But Ryan and Grady would always go golfing they would go golfing together, like go to the range around the corner from the arena and stuff like that. I never knew. I learned that yesterday. That's a fun fact that Ryan's dad is pretty good.
There's a bunch of courses.
Yeah.
Like, cause I live like fairly close to them in Noblesville. So, I mean, there's a ton of like Crooked Stick. They had the BMW championship there, the PGA Tour and all that stuff. So, I mean, golf is really big in Indiana. I'm sure it's a lot bigger in other places though.
No, I never knew growing up. Never knew one person that golfed growing up. So there's that. I didn't even know you go to college for golfing. So I mean, yeah.
What?
The closest golf experience I got growing up was putt-putt and then Fresh Prince when Will and Carlton when they were playing. But putt-putt was fire.
Well, I want to transition to obviously your new Big Ten Network gig that you got going on. You're starting here pretty soon, next week, right?
Tuesday. Yeah, I got the tip-off day.
I mean, first of all, I mean, we talked about this before, but congrats on that. It's amazing. I'm so happy for you. I mean, for the people that aren't quite aware, I'm sure they are, but talk a little bit about what your specific role with Big Ten Network will be.
So I'll be a college basketball analyst commentator. They say color commentator, but so for me, what I'll be doing, like on Tuesday, I'll be doing the Big Ten preview tip-off show. So I'll do that. It's a 30-minute show. And then from then, IU plays that night, Illinois plays that night, Iowa plays that night on the network. So we'll be doing the pregame show, the halftime show, the postgame show for those games. And then that'll be the studio part, I guess. And then on Friday, the 12th, I'm actually calling the Indiana State game. So the Purdue Indiana State game, I'll be calling that game live. That'll be interesting. That'll be fun. But then it's just a mixture of that. Been back and forth and just kind of being on the network, being on a good team and learning and doing the job.
And how did this all like come together? Did they approach you and say, hey, would you want to do this?
I think if I'm being completely honest, I was sitting with Paint a few years ago. He was like, we were talking. And he just randomly said something about sports commentating, and he's like, look into it. So I was like, all right. This was I think the year I got the ring. Or maybe my wife was with me. So this is the year after. My wife was with me. This is the year after. So I looked into it. I tried with the SEC network. I tried to get in with the Big Ten network. I just kept coming to a halt. It just didn't work out. So I kind of just pushed back, left it alone for a little bit. And then I reached out to Robbie, and then asked Robbie how he did it, what was his process, if he knew a way to kind of get into the field. And then we talked, Robbie, I believe Robbie put in the word for me. I don't know, but I would say Robbie maybe put in a word for me at that time. Maybe nothing shook out. But then a year from that, which was last year, the Big Ten reached out to me, asked me would I be interested in maybe doing an audition or something like that. And then obviously I said yes. I reached back out to Rob, asked Rob a lot of questions, asked him if he could put in a word for me again. So long story short, last year nothing came about, COVID, different things. But I emailed them probably every other week, like, got anything yet? what's up? So I just kind of forced the communication line, just kind of kept emailing them, kept checking in with them, kept telling them I was interested in it. And then started our podcast, did that, and just kind of been working and then building a portfolio. And then this summer I reached back out to them, asked them if they have anything available, whatever, open, any auditions open. And they invited me in for audition in August. And then I auditioned in August, and then come October, they reached back out and said we could do something. So it's been like a 3-4 year type of thing that I've been trying to do, but I'm glad it shook out. I definitely will publicly say thank you to Robbie. I'm sure Robbie kind of said some nice things. I'm sure they had to call Paint and ask Paint anything about me. So I appreciate Paint, whatever he did or if he did, but anybody behind the scenes that helped me out, I really appreciate it. But because I know, couldn't have done this by myself. So it's probably a lot of people helped and went into it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, didn't you call a game last year?
I called a PFW. I called 2 PFW games, and that was totally separate. That was my guy John reached out to me. I was in Fort Wayne, and he just asked me was I interested in coming in because they had nobody at that time to do it with them. So he asked me, he knew I started the podcast. He knew that was something I wanted to do. So he brought me in and called that game, and then was hoping for something to come out of that. And then nothing came from that. So I just kind of got back to the grind. And then so I just kept kind of doing my thing and kind of building my own thing and keeping faith in it, keeping hope in it, and it worked out.
I mean, have you been practicing doing games at all? Like, I remember when Tony Romo and even Jay Cutler, when they were kind of doing it for football, I mean, they were practicing, doing everything, getting dressed up and stuff, practicing during like preseason games. Have you done that at all? Or, I mean, how are you getting prepared to do this?
Okay. Well, I've dressed up, but I haven't practiced as dressed up. But the preparation I do, I watch a lot of the games. Kind of when I was playing, I watch a lot of film. So I watched a lot of the games from last season. I watched a lot of probably all of the exhibition games. I listened to so many interviews from the coaches and from the best players of the teams, guys coming back. I mean, we got a few new coaches in the league, so hearing their philosophies, but stuff like that and watching stuff, that's kind of how I like to prepare. I'm more of a visual learner and things like that. And just the talking aspect, I mean, you're just kind of calling what you see a little bit. Yeah. But as far as the biggest thing goes into knowing what they're running, knowing what's actually going on in the game, and just preparing that way. So watch, and one thing I have been practicing is saying the last names. Because you got a lot, I mean, my name is hard enough to say. So nobody wants their name messed up on live TV. So practicing names, practicing coaches' names, trying to understand how to do it, how to critique without being critical. Yeah. So that's one thing I'm learning right now too. But other than that, just watching a lot of basketball, which is what I would love to be doing anyway. So I probably watched every Big Ten game from last year over the last 2-3 weeks that I could find. So, I mean, preparing that way has been real good for me. Mm-hmm. It's going to be fun. It's going to be people say it's going to be like a big dominant league, but one thing I've been learning watching film, got some good guards in the Big Ten. And 100%. Places where they don't have a predominant big man, they have a good guard or a good wing. So it'll be a fun league all around, in my opinion. It might be one of the better ones in the last few years. One of the better years.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you look at the preseason rankings, which obviously don't mean much, but you got like what 3 or 4 teams in the top 10.
Yeah.
I don't know how many teams we have ranked, like 5 maybe.
I think you have Illinois, Michigan, Purdue, Maryland, Ohio State. I want to say those are the 5 that's ranked. Mm-hmm. And then, I mean, people may not want to hear it, but I think if Indiana can make the 3 ball, I mean, they're right there. And then Michigan State will always be tough. I mean, especially coming off a down year. I mean, the rankings don't matter because you gotta look at the coaches too when you come off a down year. Like Paint came off of last place in the Big Ten, hasn't looked back since. Mm-hmm. I mean, sometimes a great coach just needs to sit in it for a little bit. And then, like Tom Izzo, I mean, he could, but I don't know if he's going to have another year like he did last year. So it's one of those things where Michigan State is going to be tough. I mean, you're going to see Michigan State still plays Kansas on Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, they played number 3 team to start the year. So, I mean, the league is, I mean, you got to, Wisconsin is ranked lower in the league, but it's still Wisconsin.
Yeah.
No matter where Wisconsin is ranked, it's still tough to go into Wisconsin. So, I mean, it's just Nebraska's going to be slept on. I mean, Penn State, I think Penn State is my sleeper team, not just because of Coach Shrewsbury, but I think John Harrah is one of those guys that just isn't scared. He works hard, and he's big, and going against the other bigs in the league, he's so disciplined from watching him talk, watching him in games. He's so disciplined that defensively, he could cause some people some trouble, hopefully this year. And then you got, I mean, I think Seth Lundy could be one of the better players in the league. I mean, if he can be consistent. I mean, you got Penn State, could surprise some people. It's a really deep league this year.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you didn't even mention Rutgers too. Rutgers will be good.
Rutgers got 2 of the best players in the conference.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got. Ron Harper's one of the best wings, and then Geo Baker. I feel like he's been there forever.
Yeah, I think
like he came in after I left.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so like he's been there. So I mean, and now Rutgers is a tough place to go in there and play. I mean, if you think about it all around, man, I got lucky to be able to come into a league of this strength at times, because it'll be fun night in and night out.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we've seen it throughout, the past 10, 20 years. Purdue struggles. I mean, even when we go play Northwestern, when Northwestern's bottom of the Big Ten, I mean, it just doesn't, the parity in our league is it's insane, but I love it.
Exactly. Because I mean, you got to think about it too. Every school is going to be decent because it's still the Big Ten.
Yeah.
Kids will come play in the Big Ten, whether it's, Minnesota is returning maybe 2 scholarship players. I mean, they got players transferring back that transferred out. So it's one of the things like you still want to go into the Big Ten even if you left the Big Ten. So I mean, it should be a real fun league. I'm excited for the new coaches. I'm excited for Coach Shrewsbury to get his chance. I mean, it's not normal where an assistant will get a head coaching job in a league like this, but I think he's going to do a great job. Watching them at media day, watching how his players respond to him, and then I just think he's probably the coolest coach in the league. I think his players will enjoy playing for him. And when you like your coach, you tend to play harder for him. So I'm not saying they didn't like their coach before, but I just think Coach Shrewsbury is one of those guys that just can bring the best out of just people, not just players. And then he's done a good job with his staff, and I'm excited for Grady over there. So, I mean, if they're messing up, it's not because of Coach Shrewsbury, it's because of Grady not cutting the film right. So I'm excited. I'm excited for everybody because now I get to come back into the league, and I know a few guys different places, and I'm excited to see.
Mm-hmm. And I can't speak on Coach Shrewsbury as like a coach or a person because obviously I've never met him, but he has all the credentials you'd want in the world. I mean, went with the Celtics under Paint for a couple of years, had a lot of success.
Coaching the All-Star game, NBA All-Star game. So, I mean, you think about stuff like that. I mean, the success Carson had offensively, when he was kind of heading the offense a little bit. I mean, I just think it was a great decision, good hire, and I think he's going to take full advantage. And I think he knows the league. He's been in the league for I think he's been in the Big Ten 4 years, maybe. So, I mean, and having success at Butler, a winning culture, he's always been around winning. I mean, I just think it'll work out for him.
Mm-hmm. That'll be a hell of a game when we get to play them.
Oh yeah, that'd be a fun game. I still remember. Now that'd be a real fun game because like I said, man, Seth Lundy could really score. I watched the Maryland Penn State game a few times from last year. Mm-hmm. We had 30 off the bench. Willed them the victory in the second half. They were down 16 at one point. He just put his head down and went. And I think if he can be consistent like that all year, he's big, he's strong, played all 3 levels. It costs people some trouble.
They had Penn State always has some guard that's like really good, but totally overlooked. I mean, even back to like Taylor Battle.
Yep.
Back in the late 2000s, early 2010s, and then
Frazier, Taylor Battle, DJ Newble. I mean, DJ Newble, I think gave me 40. If you can go back and look at, I don't know, I might have been 40. Like it was the same play over and over again. So look, we playing Penn State. We may be at Penn State, and I fouled out. We may be at Penn State, and this is the year I'm Defensive Player of the Year.
No, really?
We may be at Penn State, and they run. It's one of those games where like I love AJ, but he wasn't hooked up this game. So like you kind of would know before the game if him or Isaac gonna play. AJ wasn't in the game, and they kept running a high ball screen like 4 minutes in a row, where he just come up, set a high ball screen, and Big would come up, he just come off. He had a weird arcing shot from this way. He'd just shoot it and it'll go in. And Isaac would not come past the free throw line. It made me so upset. I remember that game like it was yesterday. It had to be 40. I'm gonna look it up because it was just 3 after 3. I fouled him on one. He still made it. And just like I was playing 2-on-1. Isaac got a lot better in ball screen defense over his time, I think. Because woo.
You guys got cooked. I mean, did you guys win that game? I can't remember. Or was that the game that Kendall hit that shot?
No. No shit. No. What was that? The game I'm talking about might be in the Big Ten tournament. Because Kendall made that shot my junior year.
Yeah.
And those guys, I lost it at halftime. Lost it. Like
you did?
Lost it. Like that was the one time I lost it. Because that was I believe that was that year that it was PJ and those guys' freshman year. And Kendall that was beginning of the Big Ten. We had just come off of the December. We had lost to Gardner Webb, North Florida, I think, then Notre Dame, Vandy. I think we ended up beating Minnesota at home. And then like we went on a little run. And that Penn State game, we had no energy in the first half. They're about to beat us. And that halftime, I think I just lost it because I just felt like the last year. You know what I'm saying? And then we ended up winning that game. I think that was the game Kendall hit the shot in the corner. But it's like stuff like that works out sometimes. But I think that game DJ Newble hit me up. He hit me up like that. And then my guy from BYU, forget his name.
TJ Haas.
Yeah, Haas. Yeah. But
good.
This is one of those games where you gotta think about stuff like this. I guarded him. I think he had like 30. John Noctius guarded him in like the last minute. So everybody thinks John Noctius is guarding the whole game. And then I guarded the other kid. The other kid hit like 10 threes the game before. And like everybody put me as guarding him. And then just, sometimes it works out for you.
Was that Kyle Collinsworth?
No, that was the taller guy. That's the guy that had the triple-double. He would have triple-doubles. It was a shooter. I want to say like Fisher or something like that. We were in Mountain. I don't remember his last name, but Collinsworth, he was good. That's who Vince guarded. He was really good. He was like a 6'7" point guard. He was hard. But shit, no, man.
But yeah. I mean, kind of going to I want to talk about Purdue at the end here, but kind of transition into college basketball, just as a whole, the whole landscape. I mean, realistically, how many teams do you think can win the NCAA tournament?
Honestly, I think it just the NCAA tournament depends on matchups. I think anybody kind of has a chance. But I think you got about 10 teams that could win it. Even like I watched Duke's exhibition game and they look good. So it's like, I think this is such a year that is so many good teams that it's open. Because I can see Purdue I can see 3 or 4 teams from Big Ten in the Final Four if matchups end up right. You may get 2 or 3 teams from the Big Ten with 1 seeds. So, I mean, I think Purdue has a legitimate chance to win it. I think Purdue has the best coach in America, especially the conference.
Mhm.
I think they have the best guard in the conference with Jada, the best big man in the conference with Trey. They have, the best big man. They have the best 6 men off the bench with Zach. The best shooter in the conference is Sasha. Eric is the best defender in the conference. Isaiah has to have been playing really, really well. Paint just doesn't hand out starting positions.
Yeah.
So, Isaiah's playing well. Brandon is a walking bucket. So, you have 2 legit starting 5s. And Caleb, if Caleb can continue to hit the 3, I don't see how he doesn't start the whole season. So,
Yeah.
it's like because he brings so much effort and fight that like that position is going to be probably the hardest to come by in minutes.
Mhm.
He's still 6'10". So, I think I'm not one of those people that's going to say this is our only chance to do it. Because, you think about what the pipeline and what's coming in, but we got a really, really good chance. We're playing. I don't know if Paint's ever had these. I know only 5 people can play at one time, but just they got a sub. And if our subs are starters and your subs are subs,
Perhaps.
we're gonna have a chance this year, especially with the schedule we have. I think we got a chance to win the league, and then we win the league. It just keeps us going. And the good thing about us is that our seniors have deep tournament experience. They have winning experience. They have losing experience. They've won. They've lost. This is a year where they're gonna have to play better than they did against UIndy, in my opinion. I don't think they played that well. Because I don't think they played hard. I think they were good enough. They shot the ball well, shot the 3 well, rebounded well, just everything skill-wise, they were good enough. But they matched the energy and the playing hard across the board. I think they lose games rather than people beat them.
Mhm.
And I think that this is gonna be a fun season for them.
Yeah, I would agree. You kind of talked about their depth. There's not a huge drop off between the starters and the subs, because obviously Trey and Zach, you can just flip flop. Either one of them's going to go off in a given game. At the 4, you got First, and then when he goes out, either Trey Kaufman-Wren or Mason Gillis is coming in. Then at the 3, Sasha and Newman. The only, I guess, quote unquote weakness would be our sub guards off the top of my head.
I would say, but then you got, because Isaiah's starting right now. You got a
Okay, but
off the bench.
Is that Paint playing around with the lineups, or do you think that'll be like the first few games of the season we'll roll out that lineup?
Paint's never been the type that I think plays like mind games. I think, because the way structured is black jersey, gold jersey. I think Paint is just gonna start who he thinks is playing better at the time, who's playing harder in practice. When Isaac was starting over AJ, it was either AJ was suspended or Isaac was playing hard in practice and he was being rewarded.
Mm-hmm.
You see guys start. For me, it's not about who starts, it's more about who finishes the game. Because that first 5 started the game looked out of sorts to me, and then we sub, and that 5 that was our energy 5. That's what we needed. Yeah. So I don't know if he is or not. I don't think he is. Because Paint will tell you, I started my freshman year, Paint pulled me aside. You're going to be a 6-man this year. My sophomore year, I didn't start. He told me that going into the season. So it wasn't one. And I started an exhibition game. He told me, I started my first exhibition game, told me I'm going to reward you for playing hard, whatever, yada, yada. But then I didn't start in the regular season. So I don't know if Paint's, some dudes are just too honest to play mind games. And like I said, I don't know if he is or not, but I don't think he is. And I think he's gone with fits, who plays well together. I think Eric and Trey play really well together. I think Isaiah and Zach play well together. Just like I think PJ and Isaac used to play well together. And then a John Noctius and AJ will play better together. These are my theories, nobody else's, but that's just kind of how I feel about it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think whoever plays the best, Eric's had a week of practice and it's been practice that you're coming off of a game where no one played hard. So I think whoever played the hardest since the exhibition game to Tuesday in practice, I think that's who's going to play.
Mm-hmm. I mean, but even if we start Isaiah, you got one of the best defenders in the conference, like you mentioned, Eric coming off the bench. I mean, it's not going to be a drop off.
No, I don't think so. And then like the guard, because Payne's not going to play too many. I think he may play 8 or 9. But then you think about the rotation between Sasha, Brandon, then Sasha, Brandon, Jaden. I mean, if Jaden and Brandon if they can conceptualize where to be always defensively, just like in help side or whatever, not hugging you. I was like the king hugger of your man. I hated help side. That was why I won Defensive Player of the Year, I think. I just didn't play no help side guard my man. That was it. But if everybody can just lock in on the same principle, because I think Brandon could be one of the best two-way players in the conference. Obviously, Jaden can with his size, athleticism, ability, and it just makes for a competitive practice.
I mean, when Jaden gets locked in on defense, I mean, that you see that's when he gets those breakaway dunks. I mean, just wreaking havoc. I mean, if he was locked in more, I mean, it's hard to say because I don't want to say he's not locked in on defense, but I mean, when he just finds that extra gear and he's motivated, I mean, it's wraps.
He could be like I'm not saying they have the same game, but as far as talent, like a Victor Oladipo, like his junior year. I mean, how he controlled offense, but also controlled the defense. I still remember he got a steal, maybe the first play of the game at Mackey, and just kind of tore the rim off. So it's like one of those things where Jaden could have that type of effect on the game. Mm-hmm. So, because you think about Illinois, he's going to have to guard Curbelo at times. And I mean, you're an All-American guard, he's an All-American guard. It's one of those things where that's what separates you. And I think he has that type of competitiveness and fire to him to where he'd get excited for stuff like that. So that'd be a real fun game too this year. But I mean, you think about how deep we are. I mean, Cockburn gonna have to battle with Trey, and then 4 minutes later, here comes Zach. So it's like you never get a break. I think we have the best center in college basketball, especially when you combine 40 minutes between the two of those guys. I mean, if Trey averages, let's say 15 and 12, and Zach averages 12 and 8. I mean, that's 27 and 20 from your center. And then if we can just shoot the ball well and not turn it over, I mean, the formula works, the system works. And I think these are the guys that can really make it work. I mean, Mason isn't going to play for the first couple games. And he's the type of guy I think that it's going to motivate him. It's going to be in the gym. And when it's time to come back, he's going to fight for his minutes. It's going to make us better as a team. So I know a lot of people wanted Trey and Zach to play together, but I think now after you see what Caleb can do, and you think about Mason coming back, I think that might be out of people's mind now.
Yeah, I mean, you could for some stretches, especially in the non-conference when we're blowing out these teams by 30. But I mean, when you get into the Big Ten, I mean, I don't think that's gonna be sustainable.
I think we tried it once just to appease the fans with Isaac and AJ. I don't know if it's to appease the fan, but I know we tried it once in Mackey. Everybody went crazy, but it just doesn't make any sense. Because I mean, like Trey Kaufman I think he's a pro. So I mean, he's good enough to be out there on the floor. I mean, he's just as good as those guys. I mean, even though they're freshmen, Caleb's just as good. Caleb plays hard. I always say that about people for Wayne. Fort Wayne makes the best Boilermakers. They play the hardest. They gritty. They don't care. But I'm excited to see him, what he can do this year. But then also Travion and then the seniors. I'm excited for them to go out on a good note.
I mean, how do you think Paint and the guys are going to have to block out that outside noise? I remember I saw Brandon Newman kind of talked about, hey, we're just kind of focused on this. But, I mean, it's human nature. It is going to creep into your mind. How do you think that those guys in Paint are going to have to block out the noise of all the hype surrounding the season?
I think it's easy for Paint because Paint I've never seen him like caught up in it. I mean, they're going to get it. They may get more media attention, more gear, more attention on TV. But like I said, I think these guys play with an NBA player. None of them are going to get more attention than what Carson brought.
Mm-hmm.
He had NBA scouts at games. I mean, yeah, I mean, these guys, 3 of them went to the Elite Eight. So, I mean, they seen what that attention looks like. They were on a free throw away, free throw block out, making the free throw from the Final Four. So a few of them have already seen it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they just play as hard as you can. It's going to be a year where the older guys really have to lead by example, but also with their voice and carry everybody along. But then also it's a time where somebody that maybe doesn't play a lot can keep everybody in check, keep everybody in line. But guys just gotta stay off social media, stay off. I mean, you're not as good as they think you are. You're not as bad as they say you are. So it's one of those things where just keep your head down and work. And I think Paint has a real good way about humbling guys. Because I think that's what happened Thursday. I think they came out. I think they watched the film of UND and Ohio State. I think they think they're better than Ohio State. So they're like, Ohio State beat them, we'll beat them. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They didn't just go out there and just thump them, play hard. But, I mean, shout out to UND. They play hard. And I don't know if we match their intensity. So I think that game right there, to have that early, and then also to lose at Providence, to have those things happen early in the season, you're not as good as they say you are. Mm-hmm. But then also you're not gonna be as bad as we think you are as fans or whatever. But I think it's already started to happen.
Mm-hmm. And that's another thing I was gonna ask, like, how much emphasis should we put on those first 2 games with the secret, not so secret scrimmage against Providence, and then the game against UND?
Nah, you can't put nothing on the scrimmage, because I mean, especially when you look at the box score, we play everybody equally. They played their guys. One of their best player fouled out. We don't know when he fouled out. We don't know how many points he had when he fouled out, what the score was when he fouled out. And also, I mean, if it was a real game, that those minutes don't look like that on our side. And then also we lost by 1. We're playing everybody, kind of playing like a platoon system, it looked like. So, I mean, that is encouraging that both of your lineups can go out there and compete with another high major team. It's not often where you have 2 5s that can compete with a starting 5 of a high major team. And then also with the UND game, like I said, we shot the ball well. So that was a good thing. That was a good sign. Zach played well towards the end. But as far as playing hard, that was a sign that I didn't think that would happen. I didn't think we would look like a daisical first game back in Mackey in front of fans. Mm-hmm. I thought we would play harder, but we started a young 5. I mean, the guys that came off the bench, I don't know if they wanted to come off the bench. So it was one of the things, you could have had a lot of factors going to it, but I hope we play a lot harder Tuesday. Because if we don't play hard, it's just kind of, we're not Duke. I mean, we're good. I mean, but like, we beat people by being, we got to play hard sign in the arena. We count turnovers. We that's the Purdue way. And that's how we got to this point. So you do what you do. You do what you've been doing while you're winning. Like last year, we were a team that played hard. So you don't just forget that and try to turn it to just I'm going to depend on our 3. And that's kind of what it looked like a little bit. But they made shots. But if they can make shots and play hard, it'd be a tough out.
And then you kind of talked about it a little earlier about just with all the veteran-led teams and the importance of leadership. I mean, you look at the top, 10 teams. I mean, they're all like veteran-led, like UCLA with Juzang and Jaime Jaquez, and then you got Ohio State with Liddell and Kyle Young and all those guys, and you got us with Trey and a bunch of guys coming back. I mean, is it gonna be another year of like those veteran-led teams having the most success, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think so. I think you win when you're old. That's why Wisconsin was top 4 every year. They would get old. When you allow your team to get old, they play together. I mean, just like a high school team like Carmel. Mm-hmm. You're always going to think about Carmel going to state because Carmel's been playing together since they were like 4th graders. So it's like they know exactly what they're going to do next. At that point, it goes beyond coaching. It goes to chemistry. And these guys have been together for 4 years. I know what you're going to do in a locker room when you go take a shower or when you go into the bathroom. Like, I know your girlfriend. I know everything about your life. Mm-hmm. When we get on the court together, it's easy. We've been doing this for 4 years straight. You know what I mean? So just think if you've been with somebody, like I was next to Dakota, his locker was next to mine for 2 years straight. Like I know his tendencies, I know what he likes. I guarded him in practice for 2 years straight. So it's one of the things where when you grow with someone, you build with someone, there's nothing AJ could do at this point that could surprise me. So it's like, especially on the basketball court, I know I kind of got a feel for it. So when you get old with the team, it just grows for a better chemistry. The older guys can bring the young guys along. It's not just dependent on coaching. So like last year, I remember Eric was watching film with the freshmen. So it's like you get stuff like that with an older team because the older guys know what to look for in film.
Yeah.
You kind of get that's what we had. We had an older team. We had a senior, junior-led team both of my last 2 years.
And then, I mean, do you think there's a particular reason why those like traditional one and done schools, like I mean, we saw Duke and UNC and Kentucky, they all kind of struggled last year. Do you think there's a specific reason for that?
I just think, I mean, you think about a school like Kentucky. I don't like. My little cousin plays in Kentucky right now, Keon Brooks Jr. So that's things where you think about other guys that maybe go to a school like Kentucky or go to a school like Duke. They may be thinking about the year after instead of thinking about the current year they're in. That could also be a thing. But then sometimes you get a young team that just doesn't gel together right away. And in college basketball, you got to be ready from day one. You really can't grow over the year because these teams are good. So I don't know if it's a correlation because you also seen Kentucky with 3 freshmen, 2 sophomores win the national championship. So, and Marcus Teague played on my AAU team, so I knew him. So, I mean, it's one of the things where they went out and they won a national championship and you don't know the team dynamic, you don't know the locker room situation, they were just good enough. So you have teams that are just good enough. I mean, Anthony Davis, obviously, but you will have teams that struggle that are young. But just like older teams, like Wisconsin, my junior year, Sam Decker, Frank Kaminsky, older team, Nigel Hayes, they were older team. They beat a young Kentucky team. So it's thing where it just depends on what's the matchups. It all comes down to matchups.
Yeah, 100%. And we said when
we have NBA players, that's another thing too. You could be young and have no NBA players. But if you're young and you got 5 NBA players, I mean,
yeah, it's not gonna matter that much.
That's kind of how that year Kentucky had what? I mean, they're starting 5, maybe no. They're 2 Trey Lyles, Cat, Willie Cauley-Stein. They had 3 NBA bigs.
Devin Booker.
Yeah, Devin Booker. But I don't know if Devin Booker started. Because they had the twins at that time too.
They did that weird like platoon thing.
Yeah. So I mean, you got Devin Booker. They had Tyler Ulis on that team.
Yes.
But then you think about Wisconsin. Frank Kaminsky's still in the NBA. Sam Decker's in the NBA. Nigel Hayes was really, really good. Brasik Koenig was. He might have been one of the most underrated players in the league.
For sure.
So I mean, talent-wise, talent matched up compared to when you have 5 NBA players versus 5 great college players. You just never match up.
100%. I remember when the last time I had you on the podcast, you and Lou, we were talking a lot about those matchups in the NCAA tournament, just how things stack up and how North Texas might not have been seeded correctly and all those things to your point.
I mean, you get a team like North Texas, a senior-led team. I think that was a matchup. I mean, seed on purpose. I mean, you get the youngest team and the oldest team. I mean, at that point, I don't know if there's a pro on Purdue's roster or anybody was considered NBA player at that point. So, I mean, at that point, age prevailed. But I think you have a young team where we had 3 draft picks on that team. I think we do all right. So it's just one of those things where it's all because an older team, you could just pick on younger teams. Because normally when a freshman comes in the game, you pick on the freshman. Yeah. You have 5 freshmen out there, and it's just kind of you just pick your points.
Well, I'm gonna have to wrap this up. We went a little bit over on time, so I apologize for that. But as always, it's a pleasure. Congrats on, I mean, not only the BTN thing, but your new baby boy that you guys have coming. Congrats on that. I'm super happy for you and the family, but all the best going forward. I can't wait to see you on BTN this week.
I appreciate it, bro. Thank you.
Yes, sir.